Welcome back to another episode of the Creative Saints podcast. I'm Victoria.
And I'm Josh.
And it's been a good week.
It has been a great week.
We're ready to go.
Rock and roll.
We are ready to talk about some hot button topics.
People don't like this topic.
I know. I don't really like it, honestly.
It's very touchy. I disagree. I think you like it.
I think I could learn to like it. We're going to talk about the robots.
The robots.
One of the most controversial, I feel like, conversations that's happening right now in the world, not just the creative world, is, are they taking over? Are they going to take over everything?
Okay, we're more specifically talking about AI, but it's really catchy to say the robots. Are they taking over? Are they coming for
everything?
What, 10 years ago it was zombies, and then 5 years ago it was aliens, and now we're at the robots.
The robots. Yeah, this is a hot button topic. I think that creatives are talking about. I mean, it's not just creatives, but it's
every industry really is talking
they're all
about
talking
it right
about
now.
it. But is it going to replace us? Is it going to take over our work? And we have, a few years ago, things were coming out that, I don't know if I'm allowed to say like company names, so I'm not going to, but
Microsoft.
All of a sudden, designers were not designing themselves anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And things were getting complicated, and like, what am I paying for with clients, and how to, so I do think it's important that we dig into all of that, because it does directly affect our lives,
Mm-hmm.
our work, how we work, what our clients' experience is like.
Right. I do want a disclaimer, because we do this for a living. We do not image generate for client work. I've played around with it for fun and to test things, but we do not do that we don't really use AI for client work, and we definitely don't use generative image generation for client work. That's my disclaimer.
Okay. You want people to know you are a true creative designer. Yeah.
I think that is one of the touchiest points of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I did want to disclaimer that, because this is our business.
Oh, so like if a client's listening, you don't want them to think that we're just typing
I'm just
what they
hit
want.
a Midjourney or Firefly and
Yeah,
rock some artwork for them.
So I do think that this conversation is probably going to be more heavy on your end, because I don't actually know a lot of the software or I do, but like I wouldn't have even remembered the names you just used. So how it's being used, how often, how it can be manipulated, good and bad.
Yeah.
You know a little bit more about that than I do. I will be honest in saying that I think in the last 2-3 years, when this has really come up in our sphere, I have just been like, nope, not for me. Don't want anything to do with it. This is a really bad example, but I also don't like the ancestry stuff and all of that, because I just feel like I'm giving my DNA to someone. And so when it comes to
giving what's inside of your mind in intricate levels.
Yeah. So when I'm using these things, I feel like I'm giving it a part of myself.
Right.
And we can talk about how I've come around to some of that. But initially on the forefront, I was just like, absolutely not. I was just one of those people that was like, nope, at all costs, I'm never using it. I'm never going to do anything with AI. Well, we also have technology in our hand all day long. It is using AI. It is in our world.
At some point, the iPhone was too in our personal space, and people didn't like it for the same reasons. Computers were the same. The internet, technologically, there are always advancements that people don't like and are very fearful of. And really, I think most of the time it comes down to a lack of understanding. And I will throw myself in there that until probably 3 or 4 months ago, I was so against ChatGPT. But we can dig into that in a minute.
Yeah.
What do you think about talking about some of the fiery, spicy takes and thoughts that people have?
Let's go.
On the internet.
Let's go.
So I just pulled a few pieces, and maybe we can just take turns reading through these, because they're kind of funny. X has a group, and they're users that are blocking AI supporters. So if you support AI, they're like, deuces, we're going to blackmail you. Not
It's like
blackmail you.
cancel culture
We're
for
going to
AI.
cancel. Yeah, something like that. Many artists and creatives on X have expressed strong opposition to AI-generated content, with some even stating that they will block anyone who uses or supports AI. Their concerns revolve around ethics, job security, and the authenticity of creative work. Do you think they have the same sentiment when it comes to spell check, autocorrect, their Roomba,
Are you telling me that my Word
Siri?
documents back in the day were using AI to spell check my 6th grade
It's the same.
essays?
It's the same thing in technology, right?
I mean, you could tell me, but yeah, I guess so. I mean, everybody has a Roomba, right?
We do not have a Roomba.
We do not. But yeah, I think it's so funny. And I can't say that I was probably that person at some time. Like,
I think I was.
and what is it? I guess the question is like, where does it come from? Is it
Right.
fear? Or, I mean, is there merit to that aggressive fear that they have? Like, probably.
Is there merit? But let me challenge you there. How long have you been using Siri?
Right. But I mean, I would assume that these people that are that passionate about it aren't even doing that.
But just you. I mean, those people are probably so far on the other spectrum. But you and I, as
since
personal,
it came out, the
right.
second my phone allowed me to,
the second the phone had it, I was on it. So that's AI essentially.
Yeah.
But we don't want to use other AI technology, or it's an interesting psychological comfortability.
Mm-hmm.
So anyways.
Yeah. Here's one. AI stole my job, I guess, is a handle on Instagram. This account is a hub for those who feel AI has directly impacted their employment. Posts often highlight personal stories and sentiments about being replaced or overshadowed by AI technologies. The caveat on this is like, okay, but did it? Were you actually doing a good job? Or were you... No, I mean,
continuing your education and your knowledge set?
Yeah, were you actually
set?
upping your skill level to be able to compete in a industry that maybe needed you to be a specific type of worker? I mean, there are people whose jobs are irreplaceable by AI. So what makes that the case? What makes someone irreplaceable and another person replaceable? Yeah, I think there are probably companies out there that are sacrificing people for technology and for the process and like the goal, to be accomplished.
Right.
I do think that's a thing. And I hate to see that happen. I do think there is legitimacy to some people losing their jobs because of AI. But I also think the reason that's happening is because, unfortunately, we live in a culture where like people want to get by doing the bare minimum, and that's not cutting it anymore.
It's not, I mean, it's really never cut it. You always have to keep up with technology. Let's just think about growing up. Our parents and grandparents didn't want to use computers because they didn't have to for the first half or 2/3 of their life. And they had to start implementing computers into you always have to keep...
There was a time when people didn't want to use electricity. So like, this isn't a new conversation, right?
And also as a business, like if your job is replaceable by, this is going to be, maybe I shouldn't say this. I'm going to say it anyways, because if your job could be replaced by automation or AI, generative, whatever, if it could be replaced, maybe your life would be better fulfilled if you found something that challenged you a little bit more.
That is a bold statement.
I don't know. I'm going to stand true to that.
We don't know anyone personally that I think has been replaced, so hopefully they don't come for us in the comments.
Hopefully not.
Okay, here's another one. Reddit has a thread, artificial intelligence. A user expressed frustration, stating AI has gone from an exciting tool to an annoying gimmick shoved into every corner of our lives. This sentiment reflects a broader concern about AI's pervasive presence. I think that is true. I mean, this is being shoved in our face, and it's kind of the same thing what you said. When did you start using it? Well, the minute it was available on my phone. So are we being taken advantage of by these companies? Yeah, we're the guinea pigs.
Yeah, but
we are.
Through targeted marketing, we're taken advantage of by Coke and Pepsi.
Yeah.
We have been for decades. you can't really, that's not really a leg to stand on.
Yeah, but I see what you're saying. And I guess we've done it to ourselves as a society
Yeah.
where we've allowed ourselves to be completely overrun by technology. And, we've given ourselves over to whatever they want to sell us.
Right.
And we've said it before, we're sitting here with screens in our hand and a screen, all of the
Microphones in our rooms
technology. Like,
and
yeah, it's all happening. And we're letting it happen. So
it is a pervasive presence. I will give that.
I agree with that.
I will agree with that, but I think it can't replace you. And
I mean, let's get there in a minute. Let's do one
you
more
can
of these.
choose
Yeah.
how much it's in your life.
Yeah. You want to read the last one?
Yeah. So subreddit, true unpopular opinion. A post criticized artists complaining about AI art, comparing their situation to the taxi driver's reaction to Uber in New York City, suggesting that adaptation is necessary in the face of technological advancements. So,
okay.
I agree with this one.
Yeah.
If you are good at what you do,
Mm-hmm.
you innovate. If you're good at what you do, you adapt and you continue to learn. I think we could use a little less posting on the internet about our woes and spending more time beating AI or spending more time doing things that would adapt to not be able to be taken over, and that we could do things on our own to create advancement that isn't feeling like we're just constantly pounded on and buried.
Yeah. No,
it's a mentality, I think.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I think there is also, we kind of are like, how do I say this without making us sound so old? We lived in a world that like this wasn't a thing, right?
Right.
And there's a generation of people right on our heels that do not know a life without this.
Yeah.
And we have found in many cases that AI is how people work. It is how they create. It is. So it's just so hard, right? When like we know the alternative.
Right.
We know what it's like to create something from nothing and to work from that place of creating. And then there's a group of people that have no idea what that's like. And, maybe there's an argument there for like, who's a real creative. I don't really want to get into that, but like,
getting spicy there.
I know, but it's not, that's not really the conversation. I think it's more like, oh, if they only knew how good they could be without it, right? I think it really does unlock more of your potential as an artist, as a designer, as whatever it is that you're doing to create from nothing.
Yeah.
Just as a funny story, I guess, we are homeschooling, and our daughter right now, who's almost 8, she seems to be uninterested in anything creative writing.
Yeah.
Right. And we're finding her brain is more geared toward math. She absolutely loves it. She is so good at it. She's so fast at it. And it's blown me away because I'm not at all. You are. So to find her to be more like you in this area has been really fun. And I was talking to someone about this who had previously homeschooled her children who are grown now. And she was like, yeah, well, you know why she loves it is because math is done. Like math has an answer. There is a right and a wrong, and there is a solution to math. That
there's a problem, a process to get there.
Yeah, and at the end, there's one answer. It's either right or wrong. And with creative writing, that is not the case. You have to create from nothing. So in the past where I've been like, oh, cool, she's more math brained and I just want to lean into that and I don't want to make her do anything. Now I'm going, wait, no, I do want her to understand what it's like to create something from her own mind, from her own imagination. So, now I'm going, okay, in 3rd grade, we're going to be leaning into that a little bit more.
Right.
Because there is so much value in that place, and you learn so much about yourself and about the world around you when you're able to start from nothing and create something. And I think the crutch of AI in this space is that people aren't even learning their own potential
Right.
in this world. They have so many things to go from. And hey, I am all for, we've talked about it, like using inspiration and finding inspiration in things that have already been created. I'm probably more apt to do that even than you are. It's like go and find something I like and, see what I like about it and how would it work in, what I'm doing and what I'm working on. But to just copy or to, when you're using AI, you're using something that already exists in the world
Right.
and already exists on the internet. It's just reforming it
Right.
for you. That's fine. I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure it works for some people, but what could you do on your own?
Right.
Like, you're missing your voice. You're not even exploring what you love, what you're capable of. And I think that's the thing that gets me the most is like, but do it on your own. Like,
right.
Who even are you? You're not
Yeah.
even giving yourself a chance to know or learn about yourself.
Well, so I think that leads perfectly into just talking about how you actually feel, how I feel about AI in our world. And I think you just gave a great example of how you feel about it, how it makes you feel. For me, as you were talking, I realized that, man, when I open my computer and I open Illustrator and it's a blank white screen, I freaking love that, like, that strain, that like initial spark of having to do it. Something I've challenged myself to do is to a couple times a week, like make sure that I'm touching paper and like putting pen or pencil to paper and actually doing something. And there's something invigorating about that it continues to reignite my passion for drawing, design. Some of the stuff that I do is absolutely terrible, but there's something about what that does to your brain, and which is probably why our daughter loves doing that. But I think that AI has great potential to help. And we'll dig in here in a minute to like some of the reasons why behind that. But I have kind of a love-hate with all of the controversy and drama about something new. Is always just like, okay, guys, let's filter through that. But then there is it is taking away what we were just talking about. Both of us think we're similarly on the same page, where it is kind of robbing a little bit of that. People don't know how to write. People don't know how to draw. When's the last time that you picked up a piece of paper? Just asking that question to people, I think would be really shocking well, I got a receipt once. Oh, wait, we don't even get receipts anymore. They're all digital. Right. So there's that. But then there's the side of, can AI actually help make your job better? Can AI make you better?
Do you want me to answer?
Yes,
or do you have a caveat? I do. I think the short answer is yes. And what I thought of actually as you were just talking is...
So can it make us better and more efficient in what we do, but also still not lose the need for us in the job?
I'm going to again say yes. And here's why. I was thinking of watching you design, right? You're an Adobe designer. That's what you use. And so I'm thinking even back to like I don't really use that. I haven't learned it. And my computer at this point will not support it. But watching you use the tools within the program. Okay. So I'm thinking right now of like how, let's just say 10 years ago, Adobe, and like you use it and you're using all of the tools within it to accomplish a goal, create something, a logo, a Photoshop, whatever you're using. You are using AI. Like they already have these things built into their system.
Interesting.
The reason their tools exist is because of AI.
Yeah.
We just have a language for it now, right? And we know what it is when they come out with something new. So Adobe has integrated some AI tools recently into their editing software. We just have a name for it now.
Well,
in the past, they would have rolled it out and it would have just been a part of what you got with you.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't have known to call it something else. Now we know because they send an email saying, hey, look at our cool new AI generated tool within the software program. Now we have language for it. And now we can go, oh no, this is AI.
Yeah.
Well, it was always AI.
Yeah.
But we weren't afraid of it.
But and maybe this is my tech side coming out, but AI is automatically scanning and scripting.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it does. It is an automated process that is being functioned. People used to have to write a script that would do a series of tasks for you, and it was called automation.
Mm-hmm.
So these things have slowly crept in, and nobody really knows about them because they're on the back end. And now it's packaged up and put into a pretty button for you that you click on your phone and say, ChatGPT, tell me how I'm feeling today. Whatever.
Oh my gosh. I literally was just listening to a podcast where they called ChatGPT their therapist.
Well,
that's so funny.
I don't know.
But do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, it was always there.
It's always been there, just as packaged in a pretty package now.
Yeah. And now they're telling us it's there.
Yeah.
Now they're telling us what it is. If they were secretly rolling these things out and saying, hey, here's just an upgrade, and they weren't calling it AI, and they weren't, look at this cool new tool, and we didn't have the knowledge base we have for it now, right? We are blessed with information, and cursed with information. I think sometimes we know too much. Yeah, you could decline it, you could not use that tool, but it's just a different way of using AI. I mean, it's just more in your face,
right?
And it's, I don't know. So I think my relationship with it gets a little complicated because I see the use, I see it used in best practice, I see and I see how it can be scary, you know, and it can be complicated, and like, I think using it as a tool can be really helpful,
right?
And I don't know, maybe that's complicated, but I don't know, I just think that there's a way to do it that you are still the one creating,
right?
You know, I don't think that we've seen a lot again in our world, whether it's with churches or clients, and honestly, actually, ironically, a lot of churches where their designers are using AI for sermon series or event graphics, things like that.
And then the pastor's like, this doesn't feel authentic to our culture.
Well, that, but then also just like people posting stuff, being very proud of it.
Yeah.
And I'm going, but it doesn't, what you're saying, it doesn't speak to your church voice at all, because it's not.
Right.
Like, there was no emotion put behind it. And then the other part of it is like, it looks like something that already exists. And that's, that can happen from
in a
person.
bad form though.
Yeah. But like, even not in a great way. Like, it's not even the best work that you could have done yourself.
Right. That's a conversation on excellence though, and commitment. And
that's true.
I think I don't think that has anything to do with AI, in my opinion. So the fear is there, but let's kind of take a silly thing. Let's put in a silly prompt. So I did this already.
Okay.
I put in just like a stupid prompt to see what kind of like silly off the wall response I could get.
Okay.
In just a way to, AI isn't all bad. So in ChatGPT, I put in, who wins in a creative genius fight, Michelangelo or Steve Jobs? Let's see what it'll say about two.
Is it going to fight for itself?
Yeah, let's see what happens. So the prompt that I got back was, Michelangelo painted the literal story of creation on a ceiling with his bare hands. Fair. Steve Jobs created a sleek glass box that made the whole world addicted to swiping. Fair. One gave us divine inspiration. The other gave us 40 versions of the iPhone, and somehow both changed the world forever. So that's silly.
It kind of isn't fighting for itself, though. It's kind of saying
it's
the
kind of
other
like,
is better.
Well, here we go. But I think what I realized in doing this is that ChatGPT maybe has even more. I could have spent an hour researching Michelangelo and an hour researching Steve Jobs and knowing what I know about the two of them and putting it together and writing a short paragraph. But what I did was probably 20 seconds total between the thought and getting the prompt back and pasting it into here. So maybe we can utilize AI.
Yeah, I think we can. I think that there is, I just think it's funny that it was like, actually, like, look at the difference.
Yeah.
Look at the Sistine Chapel and then look at your iPhone and you tell me which one is prettier. But Yeah.
Which one do you think is prettier?
The Sistine Chapel. Thank you. The point, though, that it made of like they both changed the world forever.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
We're still talking about the Sistine Chapel.
Right.
And it has no relevance to our life other than it exists and it's beautiful. And it was something that hadn't been done before when it happened. And Michelangelo changed art and all of those kinds of things. But so did the iPhone.
Yeah.
Like it changed everything when it came out. And we're an iPhone generation. And so it's everywhere. The people that use Android are going to hate that when I say it, but it's the same thing, right? I mean, it changed
technology.
Everything. Yeah. So then let's just kind of dive into more of the creative work of it all. Obviously people are afraid of it and they're simultaneously using it every day. So
I think a lot more people are using it in secret than would like to admit.
I agree. And I think that we probably stood on that hill for a minute though, going like,
definitely
we are not ever using this in our work. And then we're going, well, Adobe came out with this tool that actually doesn't do the work for me, but it makes this aspect of my work easier.
Not Adobe. No, I don't use Adobe's AI because it's terrible.
Oh, okay. Well, that's another conversation. Okay, so whatever. But I think the fear is real, right? What are the fears? It's going to take my job. Everything's going to look the same, which personally I think it does if you're just image generating. And it's cheating. And I think these are all conversations that we've had and have said at some point. But then maybe over the last couple of years have gone like, okay, it's here. Yeah. It's here to stay. It's happening around us. There's not really any avoiding it.
Right.
So is there a way to use it?
Yeah.
And can I still be authentic to what I'm creating, what I'm called to do, who I'm serving as clients, how I'm serving the world around me, what I'm putting out into the world? Can it still be me? And can I use this tool?
Right.
And I think the answer is yes. I really do. And one thing that I've found, so I guess for me, I have come to have an appreciation for ChatGPT. My work that we do is a little bit more structural, process, planning, those kinds of things. I'm generally making a lot of documents and just all kinds of different things where like it's more, if I was a secretary, I'd have a lot of paper. I'd be going through a lot of paper. So for me, I'm going, well, how can this actually work for me? And I found that it can. It takes a lot of time down. Googling is terrible. I don't want to just Google something and then I still have to spend an hour trying to figure out if I got the right answer or if it is the most effective thing or how do I put this together in a way that makes the most sense for the thing that I'm doing. Honestly, I am in love with ChatGPT right now. It's saving me so much time.
But instead of Googling, you're organizing all your thoughts and then inputting them.
Right.
And getting a little bit of a deeper dive without all of the sponsored ads and all of the Google ads has made it pretty impossible to actually find real content that you can trust.
Yeah.
And ChatGPT, you have to check your sources. But if you ask for sources, it will give them to you.
But I'm not out here writing research papers, right? And so for me, I think that, hey, what is the best workflow in this specific scenario?
Right.
I still have to tell it what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I still have to tell it how I want it to look. And most of the time I'm going, no, that's not right. Can we try a different way?
You have to give it your experience and your brain dump and your ideas and your thoughts. And
so I think that for me, it has saved me a lot of time in these cases where I need to just like format a document or whatever it looks like, just silly stuff that I'm like, oh my gosh, it is like a personal assistant in this way. It's just saving me time.
Right.
And that has been really, really helpful for me.
Yeah.
And it's, I think in this season of life for me, I'm going, wow, I would have spent so much useless time and energy making sure that I got that right. Yeah. And now I have time for something else.
Yeah.
Time to think about something else. Okay, that's done. I checked it off. So it has been a really useful tool.
Yeah.
In that way.
Can I share one there? So in a similar vein, writing emails, which you always proofread for me before I send out big emails, but I've started using ChatGPT to say, I need you to take this email and rewrite it in language and in a format that a musician would understand, or a CTO would understand, or a pastor would understand, to communicate more clearly to them. So I have to do all of the work, but I put it in there, and then it enables me to, like we were talking about a couple weeks ago, be more of a valuable asset to the person that I'm dealing with, because they can read it one time and it's in the tone and the language that they understand.
Well, and sometimes the sales pitch is half the work, right? And so if you have been working with artists for weeks, months at a time, and then you're shifting to ministry work, it's just easy sometimes to like help it, like it can help you to switch your language, be able to communicate like you're saying more effectively. And, you know, you're still at the end of the day going to be the one doing the work, but this is helping you change a word here or there, or just get your brain thinking in a different way.
It may have come across the sales pitch in the way that the tone that I had it, but after it's rewritten, it doesn't sound like a sales pitch. It's more of like a helpful, how do I become a helpful partner to your cause or your organization?
Yeah. And I think that it's just, so I said at the beginning, this isn't a new conversation.
No.
Every time there's a shift in technology, there's fear around it. And I think photographers that were working with film and then digital cameras came around, well, we're finding now that film is prettier. And we're making a shift back culturally, going, actually, this is a better, I feel more when I see this photo versus this photo.
Filters and overlays and different, they only give you so much of a feel that you actually can capture. Like, you just feel more, and maybe it's a nostalgia thing. Maybe it's a like relatable when you see it visually, but it does feel like it carries. It's like the emotion and the like feeling of the day goes along with that picture.
Oh, for sure. It's so funny too. This kind of is switching the conversation. I was recently going through at my mom's house, like all of her photos.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just tote boxes and tote boxes full of real photos. And there is this one photo that she took on, I think it was like my 5th birthday. It's me and all my best friends standing on the trampoline. And the photo itself is so beautiful. And I would put it up against so many pictures that are on my phone right now, you know? And then for me, I'm going, oh my gosh, this is such a good picture. I wish I had a real camera to be taking pictures of my kids. And then I just remember as a kid going and getting the film developed and the whole tangible experience that went along with that. And
well, that just brought back a lot of memories of dropping film off.
Yeah. And like, it's so funny how the world kind of reverses itself sometimes. Like we make this big shift and then we end up coming back to the original thing anyways. So yeah, I don't know. I'm just seeing so many, we're not photographers by any means, but like I'm seeing so many photographers now going, I'm going back to film. It's so different. It's just a more emotive, I think, product at the end of the day. You know, and the result at the end is just like, oh, like it makes me feel something that a digital doesn't. And this is not an argument for film versus digital. Clearly,
that took a bad turn.
It did, but I just think culturally we find ourselves sometimes going so far one way and then we end up coming back. And the same can be said with AI. I think that people went so far with it initially, created so many things that were mediocre. And now they're like, nah, actually, I think I need to come back and like do this myself, create this from my heart. And not just utilize a robot.
I think it is going back to the white example, that sparking of imagination, creativity. Music is the same way. So there are a lot of things that can be done fast. And I think if you see AI as your intern, see it as an assistant, something that's it's $20 a month. That's way cheaper than any VA you're going to hire. See it as a assistant to you. It's going to free your brain and help you to stay on task, stay in a state of flow and getting things done more efficiently. And instead of taking an hour to Google and research, you can move on. So how do you keep your creative being going? How do you keep that authentic you coming through in what you create while still utilizing AI to help you be a little more organized and efficient?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the question for you, though, because you're the one actually putting pen to paper.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that? How, like, there are tools, they're on
Yeah.
your computer, they're at your
Mm-hmm.
fingertips, and yet I still see you sit down to draw.
So I use AI in those ways, but I write the email first.
Mm-hmm.
I will sit at the blank AI screen. I will sit at the blank file and go for it and get my brain going. I do think that sometimes instead of scrolling through images, scrolling through Pinterest,
Mm-hmm.
or trying to ideate, especially with like a branding. Okay, so here is the demographic, here's the product, here's the
Mm-hmm.
organization, and here's the target market. I can put that into AI and help to, and I'm specifically saying ChatGPT. That's probably all that I use at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But I can take all of those pieces and say, here's what I'm thinking. Can you help think from an opposite perspective to ideate what type of imagery could go with that? What type of flows and different things could go with that? And it'll bring up a little bit of reference. And then I can take that and I can take that back into my design.
Mm-hmm.
I Adobe Illustrator, for example, has this generative vector thing that you can do, and I've tried it twice, and it is so freaking god awful.
Mm-hmm.
It's a waste of time. It's a waste of resource. But I have talked to a few people who are like, "Did you know that Illustrator can do this now?" And I just want to be like, "Did you know what you can do if you
Mm-hmm.
put a pencil to a
Right.
piece of paper or your pen to an iPad or tablet or whatever?" So using it as that like spark, once I've laid out in my mind, once I've written down or typed out my thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
I can help to spark. And instead of needing a brainstorming session with another person, I'm able to utilize that and to design. So it's still me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still outputting. I'm not asking AI to output, but I'm using it to help me stretch my brain to think like another person.
I mean, it's an assistant.
Yeah.
Really,
It's
if you think about
market
like,
research.
yeah,
It's
I just thought about like Mad Men.
yeah.
When they were like in their offices, but they all had a secretary that like when they needed a break, they'd go out and talk to the secretary and like
Don
stretch
Draper
their
would have had
brain.
a straight up robot bring me a scotch and ideas on how to brand Pepsi.
I, but yeah, it was, you have to stretch your brain. And I think that this, again, if you're using it in that way as your intern, your assistant,
Mm-hmm.
but not the one creating,
Right.
yeah, I think it's great. I think it's worked really well for us. It's
Yeah.
saved us a lot of time.
It's setting boundaries and
Yeah.
keeping your process in place,
Mm-hmm.
but not seeing just because there's a tool in front of you doesn't mean that it's a tool for you, doesn't mean a tool that you should be using, doesn't mean a tool for right now. So I think AI is the assistant, but AI is not the one doing the work.
Mm-hmm.
AI is not the output. And I'm going to challenge, if you're listening to this and you use AI and you are selling that to a client or calling that your work, I challenge you to start from scratch and do it yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. And I just think that doing it yourself just makes you a better creative. It
Yeah.
makes you better at your job. I think it's important. I think it's important because people feel authenticity.
Yeah.
And they will feel it in your work. Your
Right.
work will be a reflection of who you are,
Yeah.
and who the client is.
Yeah.
And when it's not authentic, people know it.
Mm-hmm.
And, it kind of comes back to the conversation of value. And all of that, we're not going to dig into it, but like we
Right.
talked about it a couple weeks ago, like how valuable are you? And I think that's something that people really need to think about in an honest way. Like,
Yeah.
how valuable am I? How much of my work am I doing myself?
Mm-hmm.
That it's important to evaluate and
Yeah.
understand if you're using these tools in a healthy way
Mm-hmm.
or not.
It's the same, just to go back to design, it's the same as when all of these clip art libraries came out and people
Mm-hmm.
were like, I'm going to put some text and I'm going to put a clip art icon and I'm going to call that a logo.
Mm-hmm.
Well, how many of those have you done? Because
Yeah.
after people start seeing this is so generic, it doesn't evoke emotion. There is no identity to it. It's just
Mm-hmm.
stuff.
Yeah.
And music is the same way. There's so many AI tools out there and emotion comes through in music. And if it doesn't, people aren't going to listen. So you're kind of wasting your time. I know it's a bold statement, but you're kind of wasting your time if you're not creating something authentic and new.
Yeah. I think that maybe that's not a good conversation for us. We're pretty passionate about music. Generally don't like much of what's put out today.
Mm-mm.
And, the other day we were listening to some stuff and Pearl Jam came on. And immediately I was like, I feel this.
Mm-hmm.
Like something in my soul is just like, I feel this. Yes, Pearl Jam was on my playlist. You guys just don't even worry about it. But music doesn't make me feel that way anymore.
No, it's it's hard.
And I'm not talking about worship music. If that's a different thing. But like just music that's being put out into the world right now. The instruments aren't played the same half the time. They're not actually
they're
real
not being
instruments,
played.
They're not being played at all. And I'm sorry, you can feel it.
Mm-hmm.
I think don't get me wrong, I think there's some great stuff that people have done in studios with music that has been awesome. But in general, let me just say this is a general statement. I just don't think it's as good as what it is when there is true emotion and passion being played out of someone's fingertips.
I hear what you're saying, but I think after I say this, you might disagree with your own statement. I think that it is still coming out, but the Spotify's and Apple Music and all of those things are so inundated with so many options.
Yeah.
Somebody was just talking about this. There's so many options and there's so much out there that even when you have a hit song, it doesn't stay a hit or popular for that long because all of those things encourage music ADD. Everything in the world encourages ADD, but it wants you to skip. And there's so much new out there that you can't stay on a playlist for long. The 90s music that we're talking about, that's on a playlist because people know those songs because you listen to a whole CD.
Yeah.
That was on your car. That was the only music in your car. So you listened to that CD. You went to the grocery. That was on. You went to the mall. That was on.
All right, I'm getting really nostalgic.
The
now.
radio was on. I'm going to go for a drive and put a CD in and go to the mall. No, I don't. I don't want to do any of that. But
no, I hear what you're saying. And I think I was too harsh in saying that, like, I think the music that's being put in our face is not great.
But I think a lot of that is
still really great musicians and creators out there putting stuff out into the world. But yeah, it's harder to find.
But the bad stuff that's out there is probably not authentic. It's probably created with just computers.
Yeah.
How many of those sessions is there not a single instrument? Anyways, we're not going to dive into that.
That was probably, I feel like I just took a dive off of the high dive. Okay, rabbit hole.
We love music. So how do you use AI? How do you use those tools without selling out? And I think we kind of talked about that with brainstorming, helping to come up with names or slogans or different things to get people thinking differently. I think that's good. The image generation, generative aspect there, I'm just not sold because 1, I don't think it's very good. 2, I think that we need to be creating from a place of authenticity. That's my personal stance on that, and I can't see that ever changing.
Yeah.
If you want to be a graphic designer, be a graphic designer. If you want to be just someone who makes something because you do something else, that's cool. Use those tools.
Yeah.
But you're not a graphic designer. You're not making something.
I wish y'all could see my eyebrows when he said that. That's a bold statement.
It is a bold statement. Just because you can use a template on Canva and put something doesn't mean you're a graphic designer, because you are something else. Yeah. So be true to yourself in being what you are and use the tools. Canva's a tool. And I'm glad that people can create stuff that looks better than just throwing some clip art together. I really am. But that doesn't mean that you are a professional in that area.
Yeah.
And AI is the same.
Do you think that it's in that way given people a false sense of self? Like they think they are a thing because they can do a thing?
The promise of being able to make money on the internet makes people pretend that they're a lot that they're not.
Yeah.
And I'm not mad at those people, but I'm mad at society for allowing that, because it is creeping in more and it takes the imagination away from life. And there were a lot of years where I spent suppressing my imagination because that's not the path. That's not the thing. And so I'm very passionate at 40 years old about, I just want people to be authentic about themselves and true to themselves. Be who you were created to be.
Yeah.
Don't pretend to be somebody else or pretend to be something else just because there's a possibility of making money.
Yeah. No, I think that's good. And that's why the slogan around our parenting is we're raising 90s kids. Don't want everything to be at their fingertips all the time.
So this has been really fun, and I don't think it's been that controversial to talk about AI in the creative world.
No, I think it's a conversation that we're having actually just in general with a lot of people anyways. It is fun. I think it's a fun conversation to have. I think people have a lot of opinions around its merit, and I think that probably stems from how you work, what you do. There are people using it that bring it up to us sometimes, and I'm like, wait, you did what? No, I don't want a pastor forming his sermon from ChatGPT. But but if I put some document notes in there and say, can you make this format that's better for me? I don't know. People could probably call me a hypocrite, but it is my assistant right now, and it's free. So
I have seen in scriptures that have come up and things that I've been doing, ChatGPT will reference a scripture and give it a translation, but it is not right.
It's not right.
It is.
Yes.
So if you're going to use AI, you're going to use ChatGPT even, you still have to spell check.
Yep.
You still have to read it and make sure that it sounds proper. Also, rewrite it so if you are using it for like emails, make sure that you don't lose yourself in it. Even when I like use ChatGPT to reformat so that someone can understand my words in their type of language, I have to make edits to it because
it's the same as when you've handed me something and said, hey, can you help me write this?
Right. It's not the same voice.
And I hand it back and go, can you change the words to make it sound like you? Like, it's the same thing. We're not the same person, and ChatGPT at the end of the day is not a human. So you have to keep that human touch. And it's the reason why I think our jobs are safe.
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day,
boom,
our jobs are safe. I think that's really the answer because you can tell.
Human always wins.
It does.
The humans beat the robots.
I had you read something earlier. A friend of ours posted. And I thought it was so cool. I didn't know we were going to talk about this today until the other day when we were planning it. But he was basically saying, like, as a creative, I'm not going to let it take my job.
Right.
This is what I do. It's what I love. It's what I was created for. I'm not going to let it take anything from me because I can't not output what I was made to do. And I thought that was such a cool take on it. Like, we're sitting here going, oh my God, is it going to replace us? Don't let it. Like,
but mindset's everything. If you're going to have a good day, you have that mindset. If you're going to create something cool, you have that mindset. If you're going to be a producer, have that mindset.
Yeah.
Just since we've started this podcast, you and I have learned so many new skills to know how to do this better. And I think that's important to realize that even with tools that make it more efficient, there is no lazy way out.
Right.
The lazy way out is go work for someone and have that.
I don't think that's fair to say it's a lazy way out if you go work for someone.
No, I mean, if you don't want to continue to learn, if you don't want to continue to grow your skill set as technology advances,
just find something else. Yeah.
You have to find something where it's not required to do that. And if you go and work for someone in like that, you can just go and show up and you have your skill set that is needed in this world and you don't have to grow from there. Start making coffee.
Yeah. I don't know.
That wasn't a disparaging comment. That was just the world is moving fast. AI is here.
Yeah.
AI is here to stay, and it's going to be more and more integrated into our daily lives. There's already checkouts that are using voice commands that you don't have to do anything. There's no people. And so it's sad that people aren't needed for that, but I think that gives an opportunity for people to go do something else that expands what they're capable and what they were made for.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's cool. I don't think it'll be the last time we talk about it. And I'm sure that there are people that are going to disagree with everything we said because this is a very controversial topic.
If you go and Google, actually, no, do this this week. Go to ChatGPT and asked ChatGPT to list all the controversy around AI in the creative world, it is bonkers. Some of the things we couldn't share a lot of the stuff that people are saying because it's
probably crazy on both sides. Though,
it's very no, it's both sides.
Yeah,
both sides.
All right. Well, we are not ChatGPT. We are real people with a real podcast.
We are human.
Like, follow, share. Let us know how AI has changed your life and your work. If it has it touched you at all? Leave a comment, let us know, and we'll talk about it. We want to engage with you guys on the things that we're talking about. We are not the all end all on information, and so
we like conversation.
Yeah. But in the meantime, have a good week, guys.
Have an amazing week.
We'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.